In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the basic features of Microsoft Word. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, Microsoft Word is what we call a word processing program. It allows us to create written documents on the computer. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be creating a magazine article. This is the file that we're going to start with. Okay, it's pretty plain, it's pretty boring. It's just some text slapped on the page. It is actually a magazine article, but it just looks very ugly. Okay, your job is to make this look good. Okay, so we're going to be doing a fair bit of formatting today to make our magazine article look a lot more professional, and we're going to end up with something that looks pretty similar to this. Okay, so to get started, you will need to open up this original magazine article file. Your teacher will be able to show you where to find it. Once you've opened it, okay, I want you to zoom out so you can see both of the pages. There are two pages to this article. Now to zoom out, you can use the little slider at the bottom right of the page. Okay, just move it left and right to zoom in and out. Or if you've got a mouse, you could hold Control on your keyboard and simply scroll up and down, and that will allow you to zoom in and out. One other way you can zoom in and out, which is a little bit more tedious, is going to the View tab at the top and playing with the zoom tools here. Okay, if you only see one page, okay, you can't see them side by side, select multiple pages up here, and that will allow you to see both pages side by side. Alright, so the first thing that I want to change about this magazine article is the orientation. That means which way the paper is flipped. At the moment, the paper is flipped onto its side, so it's in landscape orientation. You don't see many magazines in that format, so what I want to do is I want to flip it around 45 degrees into portrait orientation. Okay, so to do that, we need to go up to our Layout tab at the top of the page, and you'll see a button here that says Orientation. Simply select Portrait, and you'll see that both of your pages flip around 45 degrees and you're left with both pages in portrait orientation. Okay, that's the very first thing I need you to do to make your magazine article today. Second thing we're going to work on is we're going to make the heading stand out. Okay, so I'm going to need you to zoom in on the first page. Okay, so zooming in, I want you to highlight for me now the very first line in the article. This is going to be our headline. To make our headline stand out, I'm going to go to the Home tab up here. I'm going to select the size here from this drop down box, change it from 10 and go all the way down to 18. Another quick and easy way to make your headline stand out is simply make it bold. And there we go, just like that, we've got our headline standing out from the rest of our body text. Okay. Another thing that we usually see in magazine articles is columns. So our text needs to be moved into two columns. So I'm going to zoom back out here so we can see both pages, and I'm going to select all the text except for our headline that we just made bigger. So starting from down here where it says When Engineer Matt Botwell, I'm going to highlight all the way across to the second page like that. And once I've got everything selected except that headline, I'm going to go to the Layout tab again up the top, select Columns, and I'm going to choose 2. Okay, and you can see now that we've got 2 columns in our document, which is making it look a little bit more professional. From here, okay, we're going to we'll probably change the font size. I think it's a little bit small at the moment. I think size 12 will look pretty nice. So I want you to change the font size from the Home tab to size 12. Another thing that makes the text a little bit easier to read is adding in some line spacing. The way we add in line spacing is we simply go to this button here with the up and down arrows and the lines next to it. And if you hover over these different line spacing options, you can see that the space between each line gets bigger and bigger as we go down the list. I think anything above 1.5 looks a little bit silly, so I'm going to stick with 1.5 line spacing. I think it looks a bit better than 1. Just spreads the text out a little bit, makes it easier to read. Okay. The other thing that I want to change right now is the alignment of the text. The alignment of the text is just here in our Home tab. You can have left aligned text, center aligned, right aligned, or justified. In magazine articles, justified is probably the most common alignment that you will see. That means the start and end points on each line pretty much start and finish in the same position. If I was to left align it, you'll see it's kind of a zigzag approach. The end of each line sort of finishes in different locations. Okay, but if we justify it, it just makes the document a little bit easier to read. Okay, so I want you to justify your body text. So there we have it. That's looking pretty good already. We've simply adjusted the headline and our body text so far. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on a subheadline. So that's the bit of text that comes underneath the heading. It's going to be that first paragraph just there, the one that says when engineer Matt Botwell was retrenched. Okay, so please select that. What we're going to do, we're going to leave the size the same, but we're going to show that this is important by making it bold and putting it in italics. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. So people should read the headline first because it's the biggest thing on the page, and then they'll move straight into this section here, which is the second biggest and boldest thing on the page. Okay, it's just how the human eye will read the text. Now from here, what we might do, I'm going to play around with the margins a little bit. Okay, the margins are the white space that you see around the outside of each page. Quick way to play with them is picking up these little levers here on the left hand side and the top of your page. Okay, I'll show you on the left hand side first. If I was to click where the grey and the white meet one another, you can drag it up to give it less space across the top of your page. Okay, you can drag it down if you want more space at the top of your page. Okay, so we can play around with those to adjust our margins. Another way to play with our margins is to go to the Layout tab up here and select Margins. Now you can play around with some features here. The narrow feature doesn't look too bad. I might stick with that for now. I need to do that to both pages, so I might just highlight everything and choose narrow. And now my page or my document has narrow margins, so not as much white space around the outside of each page. Okay, I know it's still looking a little bit ugly, but trust me, it's all going to come together soon. Once we've got our text looking pretty good, what I might do is go to the end of the document. There is a hyperlink there. Okay, this here is a hyperlink. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this hyperlink and I'm going to say remove hyperlink. It's going to get rid of that blue underline, so we can no longer click on this, okay, and it won't take us off to that website. What I want to do instead is I'm going to cut out the hyperlink. So highlight it, go to your home tab and select cut, or you can right click on it and cut it out. And I'm going to highlight the word watch, and then I'm going to right click on it and choose hyperlink. Okay, now this box pops up saying where do you want this hyperlink to go to. So in the address, I'm simply going to paste in that big long website that we just cut out. Okay, I'd press Ctrl V to paste that in as a bit of a shortcut if you were wondering. I'm going to click OK, and that simply turns the word watch into a hyperlink. So I can Control click that now, and in a moment my web browser will pop up and it will take me to an article which has a video to watch. Okay, so that's what a hyperlink is. Okay, you can click on a word and it will take you off to a website or maybe a video in this case, and it's going to tell us more about this Mark fella who is printing 3D limbs. So it says watch the video about Mark's 3D printed limbs. We can delete the word at and put a full stop at the end. So that's a much neater way of writing that. Okay, so zooming back now, we're looking pretty nice. We've got this table here that we might work with in a moment. Actually, it's split over 2 pages. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go above that table for a moment and press enter a couple of times just to push it down onto this second page. Now this table, whoops, is all well and good, but it's a bit plain and boring, so let's give it a bit of colour. There's a few ways you can do this. You can click inside this table, anywhere inside the table, and go up to the Design Table tool up here. Okay, and usually you've got different colors that you can add into your table. So for example, you might go this blue color. You just click on it once, and that looks pretty nice. But let's say we don't like that bluey kind of color. Okay, you want to come up with our own colors. What we could do is just undo what we've done. So I'm going to hit that little backwards arrow at the top here. And I'm going to color this table in myself. So I'm going to highlight the first row. And I'm going to go to the shading tab here and choose black. Okay, now automatically it should make your text white so you can still see that heading. If it doesn't, just go back to your home tab and you can change your text color to white so it stands out. I also want this to be bold, so I'm going to make that heading bold and I'm going to center align it by choosing that center option there. So that makes it the heading of my table. On the next line, I'm going to make that text bold as well. And I'm going to change the fill color, which can be done on the home tab as well, by hitting this little arrow next to the fill bucket. And I'm going to choose a light grey color for that. And that's probably all I'm going to change. If you want to add some more color into your table, you can, but remember, we don't want it to look like a rainbow. We just want it to look simple and professional. So something like that I think looks good. I might, just while I'm here, actually change the heading size to 14, just so it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so size 14 for the heading, size 12 for the rest of the text there. Alright, coming in next, our next task, what I'm thinking is this blue writing that you see throughout the document. There's a few places where you can see that. There's one there, and a couple on the first page. They are quotes from the person being interviewed. So what I'm going to get you to do is just highlight them and bump them up the size to size 14. So I'm just highlighting them. And I'm pressing the little A with the up arrow next to it. That just increases the font size by 1 there. So I'm going to highlight this last one too and bump it up to 14. So it just makes those quotes stand out a little bit more from the body text. Okay, once we've got that in, next thing I think I will do is throw in some page borders. The way we put page borders in is we go to our design tab at the top. Way over on the far right hand side you've got page borders. Click on that for me. And when you click on page borders, make sure you're on this middle tab here that says page border. And you've got a few different options that you can put in. Boxes are pretty simple and that's what I like to use. They're pretty easy to work with. Shadows look pretty good as well. Okay, you've also got all these different other options you can choose for borders. You can get fancy with colours and arty borders, but they look pretty unprofessional, so we'll avoid them. I'm just going to stick with a plain, simple box. Okay, nice skinny black line. When you have chosen the box, click on OK, and you'll see that you get this nice black border around your document. Okay. After that, I think we might put in some pictures. Okay, it's lacking a bit of colour at the moment, so by putting some pictures in there, it will jazz it up a bit. So there's 3 pictures that we need to put into this document. The way we do that is go to the Insert tab here, and you can select pictures. Now your teacher will show you where to find the 3 pictures for this article. Now I just need to go to my desktop and find them from the folder. Here they are here. Image 1 is the client, which is the young girl that got a limb printed for herself. Image 2 is the creator with his wife. And image 3 is, the creator again working in his workshop. So let's bring them in one by one. We'll start with image 1. So we double click on it to bring it in. And you can simply click on it and drag it around, stick it wherever you want to put it. Okay. That's not a bad spot, I guess, for the first one. That looks pretty good as is. I'm going to bring in the second one now, so I'm going to go to Inserts, Pictures, and bring in image 2 of the engineer with his wife. I might leave that there on the last page. And I'm going to insert one more picture, which is the engineer working in his workshop. Okay, it looks like that just replaced the other one, so I'm going to have to quickly bring that other picture back in. There we go. So we've got all 3 pictures in now. So I want you to move them around into some sort of logical order. You don't want them all sitting right next to each other on the one page, so spread them out across the 2 pages. I think the first page looks pretty good, and this second page, what I'm going to do actually, with this picture, go up to the Format tab at the top of your page under the Picture Tools, and select Wrap Text. And instead of having it in line with text, I want you to select Tight. What that's going to do is it's going to allow us to pick the picture up and move it anywhere on the page, and the text will simply wrap around that picture. So I might put it right in the middle of the column there. Okay, and now the words will simply just wrap around that picture. Alright, so something else we can put on these pictures is a border. So if you double click on a picture, you end up on this Format tab, and you've got a picture border option here. I'm going to go with a blue border that kind of matches these quotes that we've got here. So I'm going to go with this blue color. And if you click off it, you can just see that border. I'll zoom in. You can just see it. It's pretty skinny though. So going back to that picture border option, you can change the weight of that line and make it a bit thicker. I think 2 1/4 might look a bit nicer. You can actually see that border. That looks good. Do the same for the other pictures, so we've got a bit of a consistent feel to our document. So go back and put that blue border on them all and change the weight to 2 1/4. There are other options you can do with this picture too. You've got all these different special effects, but I think they look pretty average. They look quite tacky. So I think avoid these kind of special effects on the pictures for now and simply put a professional looking border around them. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We've still got a bit of space down the bottom here, and this table is not in a great position. Okay, it's sort of split across 2 different columns, so we're going to have to work on fixing that. What I might do is make this heading a bit bigger and put a bit of line spacing into it. I'm going to put it 1.5 line spacing. I'm going to jump up the size a bit. I'm going to go all the way to size 24. That looks a bit nicer. See how it looks center aligned as well. See if that looks any good. That doesn't look too bad either. So if you want to, highlight that text and center align it as well as making it bigger. Okay, that looks nice. We might push this picture back over here though. Actually, doesn't quite fit on that page anymore, so you can sit up there. That's fine. We're getting close to this table. It's still up a little bit there and still down the bottom of this column. So I'm going to click down in this empty space here and press enter 2 times just to push that table to the top of that row. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's move that around. Got a little bit of empty space there, but I don't think that's an issue, so we're just going to leave that as it is. I think the last thing that I might show you is what we call a drop cap. Okay, you might know what these are at the start of fairy tales. Not at the start of magazine articles as such, but occasionally you'll see it. What it is the first letter of the article made bigger than the rest of the text. And it's quite easy to do in Microsoft Word. So find that paragraph that says he splurged, his redundancy, and I'm going to highlight the letter H. I'm going to go up to the Insert tab, and across the right hand side you'll see this drop cap option. I want you to select dropped. And you can see what it does. It makes the first letter bigger and the rest of the text just wraps around it. A nice feature too is to colour that letter. A lot of magazine articles that do use drop caps tend to colour that letter, so I'm going to go with a blue colour just to keep in the sort of theme we've got going on here. I think that's looking pretty good, so I'm happy with that. If you have got something pretty similar to that, then happy days. Show your teacher, just make sure they're happy with it as well, and you've got yourself a finished magazine article. Now you need to save it when you're done, so go up to the File menu and go to Save As, and give it a name, and put it into your flying folder. Okay, call it something like magazine article, and save it up. Another thing that you can do, which is pretty good to do with assignments, is convert this into a PDF document. Okay, you go to File and choose Save as Adobe PDF. And just leave it as the name magazine article, save it into your flying folder, and click Save. Okay, that's quickly going to make your document into a PDF. And here it is opening up in Adobe Acrobat. Okay, so this document looks pretty nice now as a PDF. And if you're submitting an assignment, I would highly recommend saving it as a PDF file and emailing that through to your teacher. Okay, so that looks really good. Now, if you want to, you don't have to, but I think if your teacher asks you, you should do this. I want you to share this with your teacher in an email. So using the skills you've learnt in previous weeks, load up your school emails, attach this file, the PDF file, to your email and send it to your teacher. Okay, other than that, I think that's all I need to show you in Microsoft Word. You should now know quite a few basic features to help you format your documents to make them look a lot more professional. Okay, so come assignment time, we do expect you to be using a lot of these techniques to make your assignments very clear and easy to read. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now. Make sure you save it up and send this through to your teacher.